Hi, this is David, and the name of this video is the Mormon Church a cult? There's a lot of debate on this, and you certainly can look all over the internet and all over the computers and see what some people say yes, some people say no. Let me tell you what I say. I've been there 50 years. If you haven't been there 50 years and been in that cult and listened to their talks and their general conferences and read their textbooks and been taught in Sunday school and listened to all of the sacrament meeting addresses, etc., etc. If you haven't been a four-year seminary student, if you're not a BYU graduate, you might have a little bit less authority to call it a cult than I do. My background and experience in cults is that I have some not extensive. Now I'm not going to lie. I'm not a Mormon anymore, so I tell the truth. I don't have an extensive background in cults, but I do have some master's level counseling and readings and training in satanic ritual occults. Now, I'm not sure that I would say the Mormon Church is a satanic ritual cult, but there's not only one type of cults. There's several types of cults. Now, here's been my experience with cults. And I'm going to use the missionary experiences in the Mormon Church. I didn't go on a mission. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a Mormon anymore. I don't lie. I didn't go on a mission. But I sent 2 kids on a mission, and I've married 2 returned missionary women. So I know a little bit about missionaries. The Mormon Church, after you're called on a mission and you go into the language training center, they regulate extremely close who you talk to. You're not allowed to read any newspapers. You're not allowed to see any television or to receive letters that are not pre-screened. Even if your parents die, they keep you on your mission. Sometimes, now and then, they'll let a missionary go. But most of the time, a mission for the Mormon Church is extreme cult indoctrination. So that when young men and young women, after they're 19, they get back and they're 21 or 22, the open cult seems like freedom. It's kind of like coming out of a Nazi concentration camp and going into an American jail. You feel, gee, I'm free at last, free at last. Brother King would say. You're not allowed to have letters on a mission, basically. I don't know, maybe you get 1 letter a month or something from your mom. I think you can contact your mom on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Again, these rules change throughout the years and have continued to change throughout the years. You're not allowed to read newspapers. You're not allowed to use a telephone. Basically, you can't use the internet. It's highly regulated, and your mission president watches constantly that you're not getting other information that is not LDS generated information. You don't eat well, you don't live well, and you spend a lot of time walking and a lot of time talking to people and trying to get them to join your religion. It's arduous and it's difficult. And cults basically specialize in not allowing you to have equal access to information where you can make decisions. All the decisions are made by the Mormon Church. They're made by your mission president. They're made by the general authorities and the regional representatives and all the other governmental levels that the church has currently. My experience with cults is that they start very young. They start in children that are basically almost newborns. When newborns are carried into the Mormon Church and they hear the songs and they hear the talks and the monotone voices and see the furniture and see the sacrament being passed, etc., from 0 right on up until 3 years old, those children are indoctrinated. That is typical of a cult. Now, what is also typical of the cult is that they begin a formal training experience in the Mormon Church. That's called primary. You go into primary when you're about 4 or 5, and there you have a lesson. And the lesson is centered around the cult and how they try to tie Jesus into the cult, which Jesus, for Mormons, is nothing but smoke. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. It's Joseph Smith worship and prophet worship, and we are better than everybody else. So one of the other things with cults is they start at a very young age, and 3, 4, 5 years old, and the children are indoctrinated in primary up till about age 12, and then they're indoctrinated again in young men and young women's programs that not only meet on Sundays, but they also meet on sometimes Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then, of course, the seminary students start in 9th grade before they can even go to school. They have to go to a 1-hour Mormon meeting in the morning that talks again about the indoctrination of the Mormon Church. Now, other things and similarities that I've seen related to cults. One is there's no accounting for your money. They always want your money. They always have both hands out for your money. And they don't care if you're poor, you're blind, you're sick, you're on disability, it doesn't matter. You pay 10% of your tithing or you cannot participate fully in the Mormon Church. They are into punishment, just like a satanic ritual are into physical punishment. The Mormon Church is into emotional punishment. You can raise a child for 18, 20 years and they decide to get married. And if they're Mormon children, they've been taught that if you're not a Mormon as a parent, you can't come to their wedding. That's cruel, emotional punishment, trying to force the parents back into paying tithing and rejoining the cult. Cults always seem to have a governmental approach. The Mormon Church does. They call it a court of love. You know, I almost fall off of my chair talking in the phrase, the court of love. Let me tell you what a court of love is in the Mormon Church. Not that I've been in one, but I've seen them, and I have talked to several people that are previous Mormons or current Mormons that have been in a court of love. Each ward and stake in the Mormon Church has basically 12 high councilmen. High councilmen are people that have been a bishop or a stake president and have been in some kind of an authority position in the church. The court is overseen by the stake president, the local stake president. Well, the charged person comes into the room and they sit at the bottom of the table, and the saying is that there's 6 high counselors that are for the defendant and 6 high counselors that are for the church, to protect the church. That's not true. You've got to be so careful with these Mormons. They say the right things. They sound right. But look at what they do. These high councilmen all work for the stake president. Do you think one high councilman is going to stand up and say, gee, I think this guy's innocent, even though the rest of you think that he's guilty? He'll be gone. He's going to be like the gold plates. He's going to disappear. So the victim has no right to defend themselves. Many times the stake president will sit in front of him with a big stack of papers saying these are all the evidences and testimonies of the people who say that you've done this or you've done that. And when the victim says, well, like in law, you have to show your case, well, in the Mormon Church they don't. So the stake president says, no, this is sacred. You know, there's nothing sacred in the Mormon Church. And you're not allowed to see them, so you can't defend against them. And then after they ask you questions, how much did you masturbate? Did you masturbate in her mouth? Did you do cunnilingus on this person? They go into the most sordid details that make my stomach turn. And until this person tells every single detail, there's no chance in hell. They're not going to be excommunicated. So the person leaves the room, sits outside, nervous as hell, and now the jury is out and they're talking about him. And he comes in and the stake president announces that it's the decision of the court that you're excommunicated. You lose your family, you lose your friends. Some people lose their jobs. Some people commit suicide. Some people leave the church. Some people try to get back in. They're so desperate and so beat down that the church can lay out a program for them to become in full fellowship and rebaptized. This is a cult. This is a cult that is determined to punish people, to make them emotionally abused, to beat them down, to take their money, to make them poor. Now the Mormon Church makes their members clean the toilets. The church is so out of money, they fired the entire janitorial program that used to clean their temples and all of their thousands of buildings. Now the members have an opportunity. It's a blessing. See, it's the way the cults talk is always good. What they do is always bad. Don't listen to cults. Investigate. Look into what have they done. The Mormon Church says they give lots of money to the poor and to the World Fund of the communities in Haiti, and they're the first ones on the job. Look it up. Look it up compared to the Red Cross. The Mormon Church has today spent more money downtown in Salt Lake City building a $4 billion mall. Jesus Mall. It's a Jesus Mall. He appeared to Gordon Hinckley and said, "I'm king of the universe. Make me a mall." Right, I'm going to believe that one, just like the gold plates disappeared. They've spent more on the mall than they have spent in the last 30 years in humanitarian service. Go look at the numbers. The numbers are available on the internet. They can hide their numbers in the United States, but they can't hide it over in Britain. They have to have full disclosure. They can't hide it in Canada. It has full disclosure. The Mormon Church in the United States, they don't tell you where the money goes. They just show you that Monson and the rest of them get to use the Huntsman's jet for free. They have six-figure incomes. Their children go to BYU for free. They have perks, retirement, sick time, and 401ks and investments that are all coming off of the tithing money of the church. This is a cult, and the cult leaders are laughing themselves all the way to the bank. Zion's Bank, oh my gosh, it used to be owned by the Mormon Church, and it got TARP monies. Guess who one of the only banks in the world has not paid back the TARP monies? I'll give you one guess. It starts with a Z. They say the right things. They talk gentle. The choir sings quietly, and the kids play the flutes and the violins. Look at what they do. Talk to people on both sides of the issue, then make your mind up. Is it a cult? I think there's too much evidence to say that it's not. Thanks.